The next latest and greatest of 2013 Rust bases. Introducing the 2x1 with defendability, box space, and an amazing 2 doors to your core.
Leave your 2x1 behind and let me introduce you to your new favorite base, the Agitator. And while you may think this looks like a clan base, it's actually insanely cheap. And yet, once completed, you'll be left with a roof floor with some crazy angles, full coverage, no build out wide gap peak downs, and it's all built from this tiny footprint. Regardless of its size, I've managed to fit an open core with loot rooms and 3 separate unsplashable bunkers. With no floor stacking, wall stacking, or multi-TC build outs, this base is built for casual Rust players who don't want a crazy upkeep or build cost. In this video, I'll show you how to go from the simple starter base that costs less than a 2x1 all the way up to the final layout. But first, let's do a walkthrough of the entire design and you can decide if this base is for you. Heading through the door path, we'll jump up to the second floor, which will lead us either into the core or up to the roof. You'll be amazed by the open core in this base, so stick around and I'll show you that in just a few seconds. You'll see up here on the roof we have plenty of peek down windows, as well as some sneaky conditional gaps you can use to spot anyone approaching your base. And lastly, for the roof, we have these no build out wide gap peek downs on all 3 sides of the build. There's plenty more room to expand on the roof if you'd like to add bedrooms or even a mini copter garage. Next, we'll head downstairs. And all I can say is you'll never have to go outside again because you've got all the wide open space you need right here in the center of your base. Also, if I haven't already mentioned, you'll have no problem building this base on console Rust. In our open core, we have 2 4-box loot rooms on either side, as well as 2 Honeycomb vending machine bunkers, perfectly separated and unsplashable to guarantee a 16 rocket raid to each loot room. These bunkers are super underused as they cost nothing to seal and you don't need a hammer to open or close them. In the drop down chute, we have a small window to hold our core in the event of an online. This brings us down to our workbench, some furnaces, and also another loot room. Lastly, behind an armored door, we have our 3rd and final bunker. On the left side, we have 2 very important boxes for the best of our resources, and on the right, a window and our TC. The upkeep for 24 hours is on your screen now. Now I've put this video together to guide you throughout your wipe, and you can work your way through the steps as you gather and find more resources. Even if you weren't planning to play Rust today, remember this simple starter of the Agitator, and the next time you're about to build an outdated 2x1, impress your team or your neighbors with this base instead. And while I build in the TC pod, I'm hoping to set a like goal on this video. If we can get to 100 likes, it'll really show me you guys enjoy these type of builds and you want to watch more. Back to the design, I should mention if you don't have the stone or metal frags just yet, feel free to swap out the doors, walls, or even the window bars for wooden ones instead. If you are planning to use this starter for a while, I'd recommend replacing these to glass as soon as possible. Here's the temporary layout I like to go with inside, but feel free to customize this to your own liking. Now let's continue on to the second step of our starter to gain a little more protection. On the left side, we'll completely seal off our window with 2 triangles and walls around, and on the right, we'll do our jump up to the roof. If you'd prefer, you can use a half-height floor tile as your jump up instead of the furnaces. Place down a double door and don't forget your window inside as well, and at this point you're just about done the entire starter base. All that's left is of course roof access, which we'll do by adding 2 triangles on the back side with a floor tile like this. Once we've finished this expansion, we can place down our workbench in its final spot and upgrade it throughout the wipe as we progress. The next step will be to upgrade this entire core triangle, including the foundations, to metal. Once you farm some more stone, continue to expand the roof. Eventually, this room will be one of our upstairs bunkers, so we'll seal it off with a single door and we won't touch this pod until we're nearing the end of the build. Once you've researched garage door, replace them for all the inner doors of the base. At this point, your base should look something like this, and now we can begin expanding with a little honeycomb to protect our core. In front of our double door entrance, we'll add this 3-triangle honeycomb. To avoid splash damage, pick a side at random for a stone buffer wall. Now you can seal everything off, and on the right closest triangle, we'll add a new jump up to the roof. Just like on the other side, this will be another bunker pod that will leave stone right up until the end of the build. Again, as you build outwards, replace the old double doors for garage doors. To even out the current raid cost, let's do some upgrades to metal. Once you get around this point in the base, you're going to want to get your bunker sealed off as soon as possible. I've sped through and upgraded all of the core walls to armored and also removed any unnecessary deployables. Once you're ready to seal, face your vending machine shop side towards you. Now standing in the center line of our doorway, tap W and move forward until the vending machine pops out of the door frame. From here, I'm looking up and down, which will allow the vending machine to move back and forth in and out of the frame. We're looking to get it as close as possible to us, overlapping into the doorway. Once the vending machine has been placed down, you won't be able to pick it up again, so take your time. If everything looks good, upgrade it all to armored. Once you've opened the vending machine once, you'll be able to rotate it and access your TC and your boxes. You can also place in a single door on top of the vending machine for even more protection. While I'm down here, I'll also add boxes to the loot room and upgrade my workbench to a tier 3. Now let's head to the back side of the base and do a little bit more honeycombing. Once again, pick a side, either left or right, for a buffer wall. It really doesn't matter which one you choose. Lastly, fill in both of these sections with metal walls. If you've gotten to this point in the video, I just want to say thank you all for watching, and also, how many hours do you have in Rust? Let me know down in the comments. When filling in the tops of this honeycomb, don't forget to add the dividing wall for our loot room later on. Upgrade the 5 stone roof tiles in the center to balance out the raid cost. Next, let's begin the core loot rooms. It'll be the same layout as our downstairs loot room, just remember to upgrade your floor tiles to avoid anyone picking up from down below. Now finished both sides, you'll notice I left the single door frames as stone, as it makes placing vending machines much easier later on. We'll also add a turret on the half wall up here to defend our open core. If you're following along, at this point your base should look something like this. Now you'll notice that I upgraded the single door frame as well as the window and wall on the first floor here to metal. This is honestly just to match the outside of the base. It's mostly for aesthetic and doesn't improve the raid cost in any way, so you don't need to upgrade this if you're a little bit limited on your resources. Right now, the only stone on our roof should be the back square honeycomb and our 2 unfinished bunkers. I like to use a barrel here for a drop box, but if you don't have the DLC, you can use another small box. Honeycomb the other two sides of your base with square foundations in the middle, just like this on both sides. Now that our bunkers have finally been honeycombed, we'll remove the single door, leave the frame stone for now, and upgrade the rest of the walls, ceilings, and floor tiles all to metal. Sometimes removing this bag at your feet will help a lot when it comes to placing in the vending machine, and just like we did downstairs, use the same method to overlap it into the frame and place. Now repeat the same steps on the other side of the base with the opposite loot room. Let's do some upgrades to armored if you haven't already, starting with all the floor tiles above our bunker. I'm also going to do the back walls in our drop down chute and the wall behind our workbench. When you're ready to begin the peak downs, place in this triangle floor frame with a wall frame on top, and you're going to do this for each side of the square honeycomb. With the roof floor being trilaterally symmetric, that was quite a mouthful, I believe the build steps here are very easy to follow and fairly self-explanatory. On each peak down square, I'm going to place in a window frame, 3 wall frames, and 2 half walls. Connect all of those frames together with window frames wrapping around the base like this. Finally, place in your peak down triangles. With roof tiles facing inward on each one. Conveniently, since we've placed the roof tiles in this way, when we add in the top roof pieces, we'll get a conditional gap like this, which we can essentially use as a window to peek down. Unfortunately, from what I've found, you're not able to shoot out of these gaps, but they're still very useful to spot anyone below your base. For more angles, place in roof triangles off of all the half walls next to our peak downs. If you want to put an auto turret on your roof, I recommend placing it here. It'll cover everything, and yet it's very defended from outside. Finally, once you've got some extra HQM, upgrade all of these roof tiles, especially over your 2 bunkers, to avoid anyone top-down raiding. If you manage to get yourself some single armored doors, replace them on all of the bunkers. And with that, the base is now complete. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a like, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.